Anyway, my name is Old Quack Donald. I come from the state of Maine, just north of here. Everybody says I-up. Everybody say I-up. You know, Maine and Massachusetts used to be one state up until 1820. Then we split up due to something called the Missouri Compromise, which I'm not going to get into. But my people are from northern Maine, what they call the county, or Worcester County, Maine. And how we make our money in Worcester County is we grow potatoes. We eat Worcester potatoes. So when Americans sit down and celebrate those big eating holidays that we have, half of all Americans are eating a Maine Worcester potato, because those are the bacon kind. In Maine alone, it's a $1 trillion industry. My family's been up here growing potatoes for just about 300 years. I'm actually the only one to ever leave the farm. That's because very recently, upon my 70th birthday, my mother walked up to me in the living room and she asked me if I wouldn't mind moving out of the house so her and my father could have some alone time. So I kind of went numb with that. As we say in Texas, I cowboyed up, I manned up, I packed up my Ford pickup truck and I moved to Boston. So here I am. I'm on my own for the first time in 7 years. I gotta pay my own cable bill, sir. It's not that easy, right? Yeah, not that easy. We're in a duck boat. People are going to quack at us. We're going to quack back at them. So when I say 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, everybody quack twice. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato. Unacceptable. You didn't quack, sir. No, you didn't.
Quack.
Feel a bit with the crowd. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato.
Quack.
Excellent. Who speaks a language in addition to English? Anybody? Because I can quack in 27. What language?
Do you know?
You speak English? You just want to raise your hand? By the way, I want to ask you who your stylist is, quite frankly. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato. Alright. So, America was born right here in the city of Boston. This is where the American Revolution was first conceived, first planned, first fought. This was in 1775, a gentleman by the name of General George Washington first defeats the British, sends a package to New York and New Jersey. On that day, America was born right here in the city of Boston. So, that'll be the overview of our tour, that the country was born right here, right? But now I want to go back for a second to 1620. You got these people called pilgrims. They're on a boat called the Mayflower. It's incredible engineering history. When the Puritans first arrived here in 1630, Boston at the time was a 1.5 square mile peninsula called the Charlotte Peninsula. And it stood out into the Boston Harbor and the Charles River. And that wasn't going to make a country. So beginning then, continuing now, they're adding what they call landfill to the peninsula. That would be dirt in the Boston Harbor, dirt in the Charles River. We're still adding this dirt. If anybody came to Boston through Logan Airport, for example, your plane touched down on 100% man-made landfill. Boston is now roughly 50 square miles, about a sixth of which was enlarged by hand back in the 1600s. And on top of that, Boston, we actually sit on more landfill than any one city in America. And so that's a big part of our history too. You can't talk about the history of Boston without talking about landfill, how it affected buildings and everything, you know. That's probably why MIT was the first college of architecture in America, because that's where all the action was. And quite frankly, I couldn't even get into a gift shop in MIT. I just couldn't do it. Maybe you can, but not me. Let's quack right here. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato. Quack. Excellent. So the Puritans arrive here, and the first thing they want to do, they want to create income, make money. So they don't call it a mall, but I'm calling it a mall. In 1630, they built the first mall in America called the Blackstone Block in Haymarket Square. This is where commerce in America begins. And right behind the New England Holocaust Memorial Glass Towers is a restaurant called the Union Oyster House. That is the oldest restaurant in the nation, and they're famous for the style of food that Boston's famous for, what we call Yankee cooking, good old clam chowder. Everybody say chowder. Yeah. So listen, if you could look down this, can everybody hear me okay? Pretty good? If you could look down on this area, you would see every example of American architecture from the 1600s all the way to the 21st century. And Boston does a really good job of making that happen. So if you go behind this facade, you really are walking back into the 1600s. Across the street, that brick building, 1742, is called Faneuil Hall. That building is also known as the cradle of American liberty. It's where the concept of America was first born, and where the American Revolution concept was first born. And then we wanted to do international business, and that would require shipping. So we built these warehouses in the 1800s behind Faneuil Hall called Quincy Market. So if you want to know where the first cash that came into America is, where the whole country was first conceived, where the revolution was conceived, and you know, where international business was conceived in Boston, right here, right here. It's a very, very important place, and also very important building. Right away, it's called Sephora. That's very, 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 very important. Are they teaching you kids about Sephora in school these days? Don't give me that look, kids. He's giving me the look. He's giving me the kid look. So, take your stuff,
grandson. He's the only one that says in cash.
The Puritans were treating us like an ATM machine. I'm going to I'm going to be talking about this guy right here too. This guy's name is Sam Adams. Anyway, the Puritans were treating us like an ATM machine. They were taking, and they weren't putting anything back on the till. This was upsetting to a lot of people. They didn't really want to live this way. But the problem was in all the colonies back then, if you weren't a Native American, you were British, and nobody dared speak out against the king, except for one guy. That guy, Sam Adams. And Sam Adams said, you know something, it's time we educate our own children. It's time that we made our own money. It's time that we set our own destiny. It's time that we split up from the British government. And it requires a revolution. It takes me 100 years to convince you people I'm going to do it. And you know what? He stood to his plan. And he created the American Revolution, right? Battle of Lexington and Concord, then the Battle of Bunker Hill. 9 months after the Battle of Bunker Hill, George Washington defeats the British. They're now headed to New York and New Jersey. We're temporarily on our own for the next 10 years. So we have to declare our own separate independence from the king. So the Sheriff of Boston takes over this British government building, built in the year 1713, called the Old State House. That's where the British government ruled the colony. He walks down on that balcony right there, and on July 18th, 1776, at high noon, 2 weeks after it was ratified, on July 4th, at Independence Hall in Philadelphia, that was the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence right there. That's when they read it for the first time. That's pretty cool, right? And by the way, you guys have been here. You threw out the Queen, too. Like in 1948. We're way ahead of you on that one.
Another bus.
Can you go like that? Can you go like that? But he... I'll table my trip to India later. Can we get to India? You gotta go to India. What do you do for a living? A lawyer? What kind of lawyer? Real estate. My Dan needs a lawyer. Somebody, speaking of real estate, I'm going to be telling the street, there's #1 Milk Street.
No, not Rainbow.
You was going up to Milk Street? A guy named Benjamin Franklin. And you know how they commemorate the birth site of Benjamin Franklin? It's now a CVS. But most Americans think, Missouri, you get more for less Ben Franklin CVS. Most Americans think we have 3 founding documents. We actually have 5. Only one guy has signed all 5, and that would be Mr. Benjamin himself. And Sam Adams was kind of a intellectual kind of guy, kind of a serious, agenda-driven guy. Ben Franklin was too, but he was much more social, and they really did complement each other in a big way. And Ben Franklin's brother had his printing business right where this veteran center is. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato. So Ben Franklin's brother had his printing business right here, and taught Benjamin how to become a printer. And when Benjamin learned to run that printing press, he used that as an effective form of his generation's social media. And those two are responsible for the American Revolution, simple as that. You know what? I guess a very rare sighting for you. Dunkin' Donuts, you don't see too many of them around here. Mary Chilton was the first teenage girl to set foot off the Mayflower. She's buried over here on the left of the King's Chapel burying ground. So was John Winthrop. And the woman that was Esther Prynne in a Scarlet Letter is also buried over here. If you happen to hear the bell ringing in the King's Chapel there, though, that's not any ordinary bell. That was a very fast bell that Paul Revere cast a silver specially retired. Whack, whack. That was Paul Revere's last word. And School Street, first place in public education, right down the street here, Boston Latin School. It's still around. It's one of the best public high schools in America. Have taken an exam to get in there. But think about wherever you went to high school. What's your first name? Mark. Think about where you went to high school, right? Boston Latin's first schools, 3 U.S. presidents and 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence. And they're still cranking out brilliant kids, you know. This Beantown pub right here is the only pub in the world you can actually walk in, order an ice cold Sam Adams beer, and as you're sipping it, you're looking across the street and even more ice cold Sam Adams headstone. And if you look through the main gate in a second, you'll see the Colonel named Franklin, that's the family of Benjamin Franklin, John Hancock, Paul Revere, the 5 victims of the Boston Massacre here. A guy named James Otis who gave a speech that changed history when he told the sitting British governor that taxation without representation launched the revolution, simple as that, you know. Now, Harriet Beecher Stowe is from Maine, and she wrote the book that Abraham Lincoln said started the Civil War. And the book was called Uncle Tom's Cabin. Her brother was a minister of the Park Street Church, coming up here on the right. And the Park Street Church is a very interesting church, right? Her brother was the guy that said that if America is going to be true to its core values, we can't abide by slavery anymore. We have to abolish slavery. And even up here, that was a big thing because, yeah. Anyway, so the kids from Boston Latin needed college. So they built Harvard, right? Harvard is the oldest college in America. It's the wealthiest college in the world. After that, we continued to build more
Most uncommon.
institutions of higher learning.
Other side.
Boston and Cambridge have more institutions of higher learning than any two cities in the world. And I read something a couple of years ago that if you made a list of every single world leader, friend and foe to the U.S., about 64% have spent at least 2 years at some point being educated in Boston and Cambridge. We truly do educate the world. Now, one of my favorite schools is actually coming up here in the office. It's called Emerson College of Communication. It's the largest standalone college of communication in the entire world. They just built a branch campus in Los Angeles because a lot of these kids will get media jobs when they graduate. You know, like from LA. Anyway, we're gonna go by their radio station, WERS, and I'm gonna give you the names of some celebrities that used to be DJs here when they were in school. One guy used to be a DJ was a guy named Jay Leno, the Tonight Show, Dennis Leary, Stephen Rape the Comic, Norman Lear, who wrote a TV show called All in the Family. But you know my favorite celebrity that graduated from there was? A guy named Henry Winkler from the TV show Happy Days. And he was the Fonz. You know what he got in his report card? What he got in his report card? Straight A's. Straight A's. Straight A's. So, did you go to college? What college? IU as well? They have a really good opera school there. It's a great school. So, this is New York pizza, but don't let it confuse it. We have Boston pizza too, but New York pizza is just ruder. Emerson built a $400 million dormitory or thereabouts, and when they opened it up, the pandemic hit, so not everybody could move in there, you know. So they had to spread the kids out all around the city. So 200 Emerson kids. Their first year dormitory is the W Hotel right over here. They moved on. Now, we had the first women's law school in America, called Portia School of Law, and it's now. So here's the W right here. Now it's New England Law, and a few locals. Scott Brown is the new dean of the school. So Indiana School of Music, huh? Wow. So do you teach music? Wow. You familiar with Berkeley College of Music? A guy named Stephen King.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bangor Man. And you know what? He was America's first horror. He became a horror writer because he read the works of America's first mystery writer and horror writer, who was born right around the corner, a guy named Edgar Allan Poe. Now, Edgar Allan Poe, none of the established writers around here expected much out of his work. They didn't think it was going to last. They didn't like him. He got thrown out of West Point, so he had kind of a sullied reputation. So he moves to Baltimore, right? And when he's in Baltimore, he writes a poem called The Raven. And the Baltimore Ravens football team, they took their name, The Raven, from his poem. And why don't we like Baltimore Ravens around here? Because they dropped the dime on Tom Brady. We all know that Tom Brady is as pure as the driven snow. That means saintly. That's what he is. But we hate Peyton Manning too. And we don't like his pizza either. A regular school. Hey, do you think I'm emotionally available? Do you feel the attention of my inner child?
Yeah.
Because I used to be crabby, just like you. But then what I did was I read the official children's book of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts called Make Way for Ducklings. And once I read it, I became the man that you want to become. And all you kids on the deck, you got to read Make Way for Ducklings, right? It's very important. It's written in about 22 different languages. It's our official state children's book, and it's called Mrs. Malvin on the Right Ducklings. To honor Mrs. Malvin on the Right Ducklings, I'm going to show you the duckling statues, but first, I'm going to teach you their names. So everybody repeat after me. The names of the ducklings are Jack,
Jack.
Cack,
Mac.
Lack,
Mac.
Mac,
Mac.
Knack,
Mac.
Oack,
Whack.
Ack,
Hack.
Whack.
Whack.
Can you guys say Jack, Yak, Lack, Mac, Knack, Oack, Whack, Whack?
Jack.
Check out the duckling statue over there. Why are they dressed in red? I have no idea. So I go to this place where everybody knows my name. And coincidentally, the name of the place is called the Bullfinch Pub. And it was a #1 show in America on NBC on Thursdays in the 80s. TV show called Cheers. So I'm going to go by here. I'm going to count to 3. I want everybody to yell out as loud as you possibly can. Ain't Norm, just like on the TV show. Make me proud. You guys have TV in Indiana? You do?
I don't watch that.
You don't watch it though? Maybe. We're going to enter the back bay, and this used to be the Charles River. It took 40 years to build the back bay. They actually had to invent the steam shovel to make it happen. 40 years, 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. They brought in 3,000 trainloads of gravel every single day from a town called Needham, can start walking right here on Arlington Street. Go any one of these streets in the back bay and see in chronological order the way the greatest examples of 19th century American architecture evolved. And because it's set up just like in a textbook, there's no other one neighborhood like it anywhere in all of America. See, let's play Jeopardy.
Look at that.
The man on the horse. Who's what? Excellent. Who is George Washington? Because a lot of people say, who is Paul Revere? Oh, you got it right. What is, are you a historian?
No, my son does.
Oh, your son lives here. So your son is going to go to law school next year? Wow. You say, wow. Wow. That's pretty good. Anyway, that's a national landmark statue because that was the very first equestrian statue ever commissioned of General George Washington, the very first equestrian General George Washington. So, you know, the public garden is the oldest public botanical garden in the country. And about 1850, the Dutch government sent us 3,000 tulips. So, I don't know, try it. Yeah, try it. Looks to me like everything's open. Everything's open. You two need to rekindle your romance.
Our anniversary today.
Oh. Hey, it's their anniversary today.
Anniversary.
I mean, you have to take her on a swan boat right there. 495. How long you been married? 17 years. Wow. Hey, what do you think of my outfit overall? Yeah, overall, you like it? Well, I bought it at Giorgio Armani. Now I can't afford to shop there anymore. It's the pandemic, so I shop at his cousin's place called the Salvation Armani. If you guys like jewelry, we have the oldest jewelry store in North America coming up on right? Shreve, Crump and Low, 1796. Every U.S. president, going all the way back to George Washington, also from this place. Elizabeth Taylor got all her wedding rings from Richard Burton. Yeah, this is where world leaders come to show. And Nancy Kerrigan, the Olympic silver ice skater from Stone, Massachusetts, got married in the Church of the Covenant. All these windows are all handmade by Louis Tiffany. Louis Tiffany also handmade the lantern in that lobby, and Thomas Edison wired it. When Edison flipped the switch, it became the first public building in America to be lit by electricity. And this street was actually one of the first streets in the country to be lit by electricity as well. Anybody know Louis Tiffany? You know the name Louis Tiffany? Louis Comfort Tiffany? You know that name? Well, his work is priceless. What's that? Yeah, Tiffany. Yeah, like breakfast at Tiffany. Louis Comfort Tiffany. Well, he's considered to be the gold standard of glass manufacturing and jewelry design in the Western Hemisphere. And like I said, his work is priceless, you know. And so, because it's all over Boston, so I had to, as a tour guide, I had to do the deep dive research on his life, and I really grew to admire him. Right now, I can't stand the guy. You know why? Because he's the guy that designed the New York Yankees logo. Put it in your pocket and pull it out on the swan boats. Yeah, we are going to see some Juneteenth stuff. Hey, you guys know Claude Monet is? I'm going to show you a Monet painting. We went here specifically for your anniversary. Yeah, well, you know, we're in the hospitality business. Monet, did you like his booth area? Yeah, send from his booth area.
Look at this building.
Check it out right now. It's called Big Blue Duck Boat by Claude Monet. See how beautiful that is? You watch the TV show The Sweet Life of Zach
On the
Cody?
building.
Anybody? Olivia, how you doing, kid? Boston Public Library. You guys in Massachusetts, Happy Juneteenth! Happy Juneteenth! Let's quack at him. 1 potato, 2 potatoes, 3 potato.
Quack, 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 quack.
Yeah, you're supposed to say Happy Juneteenth, that's what you're saying.
Funny.
I wasn't sure, you know. We have a public library system here, unlike any other one in the country. We built the first public municipal lending library system in the country, specifically so that poor people could walk in and borrow a book as long as they promised to return it and there'd be no charge. If you didn't know how to read,
Huge library, see?
Not a big deal at the moment, but when they wrote free to all back in the 1800s,
Library.
right above that middle arch, right, that changed everything in America. And President John, presidential libraries look over here. The only library system in the country larger than Boston's is the Library of Congress. Isn't that amazing? And the finish line to the Boston Marathon is on the other side of the library, and we just had the 8th anniversary of that terrible news event, and so they built a memorial there. If you want to go check it out. But I'll tell you about the marathon, what a big deal it is when we get into the water. You can also go inside the Trinity Episcopal Church. The American Institute of Architects calls this church one of the top 10 architectural treasures in all of America. And it was designed by one of the 3 greatest architects America has ever produced, a man by the name of Henry Hobson Richardson. When they built that church back in 1877, because it sits in all landfill, and because there was no such thing as concrete foundations way back then, they actually had to introduce a brand.
Quack, quack, quack.
Jenga!
Quack, quack, quack. Let's say you work in the financial district, so you're wearing a suit. So you show up financial district with your suit and you have a backpack with camping equipment. And on a Friday afternoon, you get on a ferry boat, you change into your camping stuff. You camp out on the harbor islands all weekend long, and they don't have showers over there. So you can take a shower on Monday morning, put your suit back on, and go back to work. That's a great thing. Right?
Oh yeah, those are kids and babies.
You're in the Gothic again, they're huge.
Those are teenage.
Check them out.
Remember, we know how baby kids
up is Boston, everything behind me is Cambridge. So who's in the medical role? Who's in the medical field? Anybody? What do you do? Nurse practitioner? Well, I never if you've ever heard this expression, but in the medical field they say there are 4 hospitals in America that write the books, and all the other hospitals in the West that read the proceedings. These hospitals are the wealthiest, most innovative, and they truly do. Because they all have it. There's a better back culture. And General Hospital, he said that these 4 hospitals are so powerful and so wealthy, they can do whatever they want, and they do. They set the agenda for whatever you're working on, right? And they're big medicine hospitals. But, you know, just like a little, there used to be a medical expression called bite the bullet. If you needed surgery during the Civil War, they'd give you a bottle of whiskey to drink, a bullet to bite down at the beginning of the pain, or a leather strap. They start cutting away, and you know what happened? Everybody would die in the shock of surgery. So a dentist came up here from Georgia. Well, this guy went to school at GAB, and he said he had this new idea that he could put people to sleep using ether, and they would sleep through the surgery and hopefully survive. And so they built them the first operating room in the world of it called the Ether Dome. There's actually a statue dedicated to it on the Boston Common. And in that surgical amphitheater, this guy performed the first successful surgery using putting somebody to sleep. And that was a growth of the anesthesiology, the science of it. And then the Germans, they invented the X-ray, but they had no idea what they had invented. They were using it as a novelty. They invented a machine so you can read X-rays for medical purposes. This was the first limb translation, limb transplant. You know, the other night I had, you know, the new residents. They stopped at these teaching hospitals. They stopped working on the 1st of July, but they're coming in now. And the other night I had a group pickup. And it was all the brand new emergency room doctors at MGH in the Brigham. And we're talking mega perfect crowds, you know, really something. And the next night I had all the I just hope you never need this place. First hand transplant. Then we found out that the guy that got the hand was a New York Yankees man. So we demanded that Mass General return the defective hand to the guy, take back the new hand. They wouldn't do it. They said, we will do no harm. So somewhere, the Yankees man with a free hand that he got in Boston. That's not right. I mean, that's what he's doing with that hand. Giving us signals like we're number 1 and all that stuff, you know. Here's how you tell a willer in Boston. So you see the John Hancock Tower? We saw that beautiful Monet painting earlier. If you look 2 buildings to the left, you see the old John Hancock Tower. That's the building with the sewing needle on top. Underneath that sewing needle is a weather beacon. And when the lights come on later, that's what the weather's going to be. So hopefully later on, you'll see a steady blue light come on. Steady blue means clear view. That means the weather's going to be perfect. Flashing blue, clouds are due. Steady red, rain ahead. Flashing red, snow instead. You got that? The only exception is if you see a flashing red light this time of year, it's not going to snow. It means the Red Sox game has been canceled due to bad weather. Just so you know. And the distracted rubber rappers, texting, drinking, voting. Hey, the dude here, what's up, the boss here.